Okay, where were we? Let's start with Erin's grandma rushed to the car. This is, by the way, notice how her main event isn't necessarily one big paragraph. She still breaks it up with some of these more suspenseful moments within the main event. I feel like we are kind of getting into the falling action here, or whatever it says on the narrative writing diamond. I think where we're getting closer to the extended ending. Erin's grandma rushed me to get a chair, but before I could do anything, she asked, "Where's your tooth?" It was at this moment that the shock of what had happened was starting to hit me. I couldn't process what had just happened, but at the same time, I realized how bad this really was. I think a lot of you can probably relate to that feeling. That's very good, showing her voice and like helping us get inside her head in this moment. I couldn't process what had just happened, but at the same time, I realized how bad this really was. I felt my mouth only to find my tooth was broken in half. Grace said, "Go tell your mom," and sped off towards my apartment. Great example of a dialogue within a sentence that also has really good action words. Sped off instead of went, says sped off towards my apartment. A moment later, my mom rushed the car over to me and whisked me away to the hospital. Love those strong action verbs. There was no wait to see the doctor. My mouth was bleeding, my lip was swollen, and my tooth was in half. Not to mention that I had just broken my collarbone in two. I could and still feel the bone popping out of me. I can also still see it. Now I know not to do that ever again. This is her extended ending. After that incident, Grace and I agreed to never ride down that hill ever again, with hopes of preventing a catastrophe like this ever happening. That day, I made a memory I was sure not to forget. And we're going to work on extended endings. I haven't spent a ton of time on extended endings with you guys. Today, with these two videos, I'm also linking a video that you can use for today and tomorrow, how to write an extended ending. And it's not me, it's another teacher that made the video about 3 years ago, actually, and it's really, really, really useful. So let's go back to Briella's beginning that I wanted to revise this. I'm sure you guys noticed, and if you want, comment on what you noticed she did well on our Google Classroom. I mean, this is how we're learning, guys. And so any ideas that you guys have about, or any feedback that you can give her that's positive and constructive, I think this is the perfect chance to be able to provide that on Google Classroom in the comments. I will mute you if you're, we want to be purposeful and constructive. That means positive and related to the techniques that she's using. So this paragraph is where I noticed some things that she could revise. As we went over speed bumps and around corners at a fast rate, all I could think about was going again. As we climbed our bikes, so I would revise this because she started her sentence. This is great because it is a dependent clause. That's a dependent clause. It's got the subordinating conjunction, subject, predicate, and then an independent clause here, which makes it a complex sentence. Let's revise so that the second sentence after that, or the next sentence, doesn't start in the same way to give a little bit more variety. So what would you guys do? I think I would say, as we went over speed bumps and around corners at a fast rate, all I could think about was going again. So I'm thinking she could even slow it down by saying, deep down I wondered if this was a good idea, or something like that. But instead of that, I'm just going to say, climbing our bikes up. How about, climbing our bikes up the medium-sized hill. I looked down, and then just make this a thought inside your head. Just do it in italics.